my main method of data collection was in-depth semi-structured interviews, and I had about 50 respondents in the research sample. And that research sample was divided into two groups. So the first group consisted of 30 Jamaican immigrants who were members of Jamaican organizations at the time of the study, right? And these individuals were representatives of the 5 different types of Jamaican organizations which I identified in Toronto. So social, political, alumni organizations, as well as ethnic organizations which cater to specific subgroups within the Jamaican population, and then special interest groups which would focus on specific sectors of activity, whether it's in Canada or in Jamaica. The second part of the sample consisted of Jamaican immigrant men and women who were not members of Jamaican organizations in Toronto, or they were former members, right? So there are 2 types of people that were in this part of the sample. So the interview shall include questions about circumstances influencing the migration of Jamaican immigrants to Canada, their experiences with settlement in Canada, their connections with Jamaica, as well as their level of knowledge and experiences with Jamaican immigrant organizations in Toronto. So there are several assumptions and arguments informing my discussion of this relationship between Jamaican immigrants and Jamaican organizations. So the first one is that immigrants usually get involved in immigrant organizations because they want to support their communities in either their new place of settlement or in their countries of origin. Discrimination and experiences of exclusion is also important, right? Because immigrants tend to gravitate towards spaces that boost their sense of belonging in their new place of settlement. So that experience is really important as well. The availability of time and resources is also an issue raised by CEDO, and this is really important because immigrants often have challenges in relation to employment and family obligations that limit their ability to contribute time to organizational activities. And linked to that is their access to financial resources, because often ethnic-specific organizations require membership fees, right? So they need to have the money to pay for that. A lot of the research that's already out there on immigrant organizations emphasizes how the differences between the minority and the majority immigrant organizations. And this is linked to the issue I mentioned before of discrimination and exclusion. But I think Kremlis and Hopkins and Salavich in 2007, they emphasize how differences within ethnic groups actually contribute to the nature of participation in ethnic organizations, as well as a process of institutionalization amongst immigrant groups. So this research addresses several issues, well, 2 issues specifically. The first one is the assumption that solidarity is based on cultural commonalities, and these experiences of marginalization is sufficient to mobilize immigrant groups to coordinate those organizations. As well as the ways in which place, identity, and experience intersect to influence the participation of Jamaican immigrants in Jamaican organizations. So the Jamaican population. So most of Jamaicans in Canada reside in Ontario, 88% of them, and the substantial majority live in Toronto. That's about 51% of them. So most Jamaican immigrants actually live in Toronto. And in terms of their identity, most Jamaican immigrants identify as Black, but there's also a substantial proportion of them that identify as mixed, right? And there's also a recognizable Chinese Jamaican population, and they come very heavily in my research because they have a pretty well recognized institutional set of institutions in Toronto. So there are more than 80 Jamaican organizations in Toronto, and they are of the various different types, which I mentioned before. But it's important to know that many of these organizations were established between 1960 and the year 2000, right? And this was the height of Jamaican migration in Canada. So a lot of the institutionalization that was happening within this community was happening during this time. So a lot of the organizations that I mentioned in my research was established between 1960 and the year 2000. So even though there's such a large number of Jamaican immigrant organizations in Toronto, the level of participation in these organizations is actually very low. The Ethnic Diversity Survey in 2001 says that level of participation by Jamaican immigrants in Jamaican organizations is actually less than 20%, even though the level of awareness and knowledge about these organizations is more than 50%, right? So that disparity is interesting, and it has informed this research. So what are the factors factors influencing participation in Jamaican organizations. I look at two factors, cultural maintenance and transnational identities. So more than half of the research participants in the organizational part of the sample emphasize that maintaining and celebrating their cultural values and establishing relationships with the Jamaican immigrants in Toronto informed or influenced their participation in Jamaican organizations. And I have two respondents here, two men who are members of two different organizations in Toronto who emphasize that participating in cultural activities was their main reason for getting involved in these organizations. Francis, who's a member of the CCR, the Caribbean Chinese Association, which is predominantly Jamaican, said that he's in there for social reasons. He likes the Jamaican dances and picnics, and there's also this feeling of nostalgia when he gets together with other people of Jamaican origin. Connor, who is a member of the Jamaican Canadian Association, which was established in 1962, emphasizes that this need to maintain cultural connections with Jamaica and build relationships with other Jamaicans in Toronto was really the main factor influencing the establishment of the Jamaican Canadian Association, even though their mandate and their work has actually expanded beyond those kind of cultural aspects today. But the initial reason for its establishment was to celebrate Jamaican independence, first of all, and to maintain and build relationships with other Jamaicans in Toronto, because the actual community was so small at that time. Transnational connections and development. Okay, for some individuals in the organizational sector, their main reason for getting involved in Jamaican organizations was to get involved in transnational projects, development projects in their communities of origin. So Gabe, who is a member of a Meadowbrook Alumni Association, felt that his reasons for joining his association was to actually contribute and to maintain connections with his high school. But he actually goes a little bit further than that. He says that I think that participating in this organization is a great opportunity for the diaspora. We're focusing on something that's fundamental to the success of our economy. If you take away the past students association from Wilmer's High School, you wouldn't have what Wilmer's High School is today, and Wilmer's High School is in Jamaica. Our financial support is critical for the success of schools in Jamaica. So it goes back to this positive impact and the recognition that they're gaining in Jamaica. That's really the basis of the motivation driving them to becoming involved in organizations like this that have more of a transnational orientation. Okay, so factors limiting participation of Jamaican immigrants in Jamaican organizations. So I focus on two factors, group dynamics and settlement patterns. So by group dynamics, I mean that it's referring to this relationship between members of an ethnic group that may be informed by ethnic or class divisions, right? So for some of the individuals in the organizational sample, they felt that ethnic and class differences within the Jamaican population was actually increasing fragmentation and divisions and limiting their ability to mobilize effectively as a group in Toronto. So one member of the Jamaica Canada Diaspora Foundation in Toronto, which is a political organization, said that we have a fundamental problem with Jamaica and Jamaicans. Jamaicans lead organizations and create them, and not a lot of them are willing to participate in things that they are not leading. And then he goes on to say that some individuals do not want to mix with people of a lower class background. So this is really emphasizing the class divisions within the Jamaican population that's actually causing fragmentation and limiting their ability to attract certain types of membership. Okay, settlement patterns. So for individuals in the non-organizational part of the research sample, a lot of these people were more recent immigrants to Canada, and they tended to emphasize that there were limits in terms of their time, limits in terms of the amount of money they will be able to contribute to organizational participation. So I have two respondents here who talk about these limitations. One is Sharon, who is a female Jamaican immigrant residing in Toronto. She said that she's aware of the Jamaican Canadian Association, but she never really had the opportunity to get involved because of the lack of time and money, right? Mark, who is another respondent, he's aware of the Jamaican Canadian Center as well. It's a really popular organization, but he's not really involved in the organization because he's more heavily involved in his church. involved in community development projects, and he even goes further in his actual description of his role in the church to talk about the different types of support, the informal types of support in terms of getting information about employment and settlement in Toronto. So very important non-secular forms of support that are coming from the church institutions in Toronto for Jamaican immigrants. So the findings of this research are consistent with the Jamaican Immigrant Organizations. Individual circumstances, identities, and transnational connections are really important for informing the nature of participation in Jamaican organizations. However, the changing nature of the immigrant group itself, as well as the urban environment in places like Toronto, is really important to consider when we're trying to understand